I almost took my family to Mexico instead of the Philippines. Getting my wife and kids there to actually be a lot easier than getting them to the United States. And it's not a 16-hour plus flight to visit other family back home. So on this vid, we're going to go through the real numbers, visa costs, what changed in 2026, what it actually costs to live there versus here, and exactly where it came up short for me. The thing nobody wants to talk about, sure, they talk peso versus piso, but no one talks about what it takes to get your family there. Here's the simple way of putting it. In Mexico, one visa covers your whole family. That's right. You show you've got enough money, income or savings, and your spouse and kids get approved right along with you. Same paperwork. Just one trip to the embassy. One process at a time. Well, the U.S. doesn't work that way. If you want to bring a foreign spouse into the States, that's a completely separate case, just for them. Background checks, an interview at a U.S. embassy, and a wait that can run over a year to up to 2 years before they're even allowed in the door. And if anything gets complicated, lawyer money on top of that. That's right. It's not that Mexico has some special deal for families. Mexico treats you and your family as one application. That's it. The U.S. treats your spouse as their own case, kids as their own case, start to finish. That's the part that made Mexico feel easier before I looked a lot further. And when you look a lot further, this is where it gets less simple. Mexico, they doubled their residency fees this year. That's right. They doubled it. Think of it as a toll road that used to cost $1 and now costs $2. I know that small amount sounds like chump change, but the 5-year path from temporary to permanent residency, that's going to run you about $1,350 per person. Now it's pushing $2,700 per person. Bring a family of 4, you're paying that 4 separate times. That starts to add up. And that's on top of the money test that you got to already have to pass. And you need to show around $4,400 a month coming in for about 6 months, or $74,000 sitting in a savings for a full year. Now that number's been pretty stagnant over the years. It's the fees that stack up on top of that, and they've changed. So the Mexico's basically free to get into video that you watched 2 years ago. It is completely outdated. That version of Mexico doesn't exist anymore. Sorry, I got the wonky eye thing going on. It's like it looks like I'm looking over here, but I'm looking anyway. Now here, I'm not going to cherry pick a number because the data genuinely doesn't agree with itself. Think of it like 2 different people pricing out the same grocery cart. You know, like one guy goes and checks prices in a fancy neighborhood, the other checks a regular one, and they walk out with the same 2 totally different numbers, but the same stuff. Same country, different answers, depending on who's counting. What's consistent, though, is when you compare city to city, Manila runs sometimes between 30 to 45% cheaper than Mexico City. And that's real. That shows up everywhere. But here's the thing. I don't live in Manila. I live in a province, and every peso I save not living in the capital city is a peso that doesn't show up in any of these comparisons because nobody's running the numbers on Samar. I've gone over this before on my monthly budget video, but I have no rent. I don't pay for water, groceries, and household goods. They're about 22,000 pesos a month. That's about $400. Electricity, the last one, 7,000, about 113, about 240 for private insurance, another $100 for whatever propane is, trike rides, dinners out, rooster games. That's right. And since I just mentioned health insurance, quick one most comparison video skips entirely. Mexico's public healthcare system, I believe it's IMSS. It's available to residents and it's cheap, but wait times and quality, it's a huge swing depending on where you are, and plenty of expats end up paying out of pocket for private care. The Philippines runs basically the same way. PhilHealth is there. It's affordable, but most expats I know, myself included, like I mentioned, carry private insurance on top of it for anything serious because the PhilHealth is not going to cover that stuff. Neither country hands you gold-plated health care for free. Budget for private coverage, no matter which one you pick, and don't let healthcare's basically free here line in a video talk you out of that. Look, Cancun, it's incredible. I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. Beautiful water, the beaches are incredible, a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great accommodations, and yes, it was built by the cartel, but they make sure that it's safe. There's a lot of police presence there, lots of security. They make sure it's safe because they want their money to keep rolling in. Yeah, there was an incident back in February, but it's mainly locals, and if you stay within the tourist zones, you're always completely safe. But Cancun isn't the whole country, and neither is the safe tourist brochure version of Mexico that shows up in every Retire Here video. Because here's the thing nobody puts in the drone footage. Some of these up-and-coming expat towns everybody's raving about have a cartel running the place like a landlord. You're not moving there to become a tourist. Now, a few states over, you show up thinking you found paradise. Turns out you've got neighbors who collect rent a little more aggressively than your average HOA. I'm not saying pack a bulletproof vest. I'm saying know which state you're actually looking at, because Mexico isn't one place with one answer. It's 32 of them. And the difference between the best one and the worst one, enormous. That's a real factor when you've got a family with you and not just a backpack. That's not a knock on Mexico. It's just not a detail you get from cost of living calculators. So here's where it landed for me. Mexico wins on getting family in the door. Plain and simple, that one goes to Mexico. But once you stack the 2026 fee changes, the real cost of living outside a capital city, and the fact that I wanted somewhere I wasn't rolling the dice on which part of the country I ended up in, the math completely flips. Mexico, not a bad call. I want to be clear about that. I just added up what actually mattered to me. Family, the day-to-day cost, once you're out of the capital, knowing what area you're going to land in before you land there, and all of that pointed, to me, to staying in the Philippines. And if this saves you from watching 6 different why I moved to Mexico videos that all skip that part that actually matters, slap a like on this. You know what to do. Subscribe, because every video I make is here to help you figure out if you're actually the guy who can do this before you find out the hard way. If you want the exact number breakdown of what I'm actually spending here every month and budget ideas, check these out. Be excellent to each other, and this was never about the Philippines. It's how you arrive when you get here. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.